Hello, everybody. My name is Janelle Esparza, and I will be talking
Hello,
to you
everybody.
about
My name is
Karen Horney.
Janelle, and I will be
So, who is
focusing
Karen
on Karen
Horney? So,
Horney.
she was born in Germany, and her mom was a German woman, and her father was Norwegian. Her mother, who died in 1911, was very intellectual, was extremely attractive, and had a very fun, sociable personality. And she had four daughters, including Karen. Her dad, on the other hand, he was Norwegian, as stated before, and was considered a sea captain. He was very stern, religious, and definitely devoted his time reading the Bible. Sadly, her parents divorced when Karen graduated the gymnasium. Gymnasium is considered like a all women's high school um, that that she attended. So Karen's family. Just noting back, she was 12 years old when she decided to go to med school, and she attended the University of Freiburg. What's really important here to know is that she was one of the only woman of six men who passed the pre-medical exam in 1908. 2 years before she passed the exam, she met Oscar Horney, and he studied at the time at the University of Brunswick in economics. They both later met at the Continental University and they married. She was 24 years old. She had three daughters and first gave birth in 1911 and 1913 and 1915 to her third daughter. She did all this while still attending medical school and finishing her career. What is very interesting about Karen is that she knew that eventually she wanted to study psychoanalysis. She continued to work in the psychiatric clinic in Berlin. It was called the Sanitarium. In 1922, she challenged Freud in his thoughts and called it the genesis of castration complex in women. Obviously, here she did not agree about the complex in women and had a different view on women than Freud. She also focused on female sexuality and wrote about it and outlined further the psychoanalysis. So Karen here, how does she view women? She noted that women should not be consumed by men's thought of what women were, of how women were inferior. She believed that women shouldn't oblige to the way men think about how women are. They should be able to free their minds in any way they wanted to, regardless of what men thought. And they don't need the men's approval to do something or to speak or to do anything that they would want to. And she also didn't believe that that women were inferior to men. In fact, she thought that they were equally as intelligent and important in society. So, how did she view religion? She was not happy about religion. She constantly thought about how her father's upbringing and thought of the Bible and how he used the Bible to punish rather than to replenish or teach, but rather use it as a punishment. And therefore, she did not agree with religion. I guess you can almost say that she believed her father was a hypocrite for reading the Bible, but doing the complete opposite of what the Bible said. So the personality development, this is focused on the neurotic side of individuals. So we have three: moving towards, move against, and moving away. The moving towards are people that are people pleasers. They want approval from others. They want everybody to be happy. They are love seeking and always think about having a partner. But they are get content or are content with having little, and they are restricting to what other people want. The moving against individual wants power, exploits, and is strive to be the best. So when it comes to power, they want to be able to dominate a situation. When it comes to exploiting, it doesn't matter who gets hurt or what happens, they always want to end up on top, and which leads to the strive to be the best. The moving away individuals is a personal admiration. They seek no social environment. They become more independent, and they don't really need recognition from others. They tend to be more perfectionist, and they are driven by superiority. So if they can surpass other people and they have goals, they don't need other people around them to become superior. So, how important is infancy? Well, here we can say it is very important, though she did deviate from Freud's psychosocial behaviors. She focused more on the child, how it learns from the environment, and how the environment does shape the future of the child, such as basic basic anxiety. If the individual or child grows up and is nourished by a very violent environment, then that will create a basic anxiety in the child, and the child can become less confident and start to develop the neurotic needs in that she identifies that we talked about. So the moving against, the moving towards, and the moving away. So, does personality change? I think at this point, she tries to tell us that there is something within us that allows us to react, kind of like the fight or run syndrome or reactions that our body has. So, this voice allows us um, to react to the environment. If there's fire, we run. If there is a shooting, we drop down. So it's more of a reaction, and we allow ourselves to mold and generate as the environment changes. So, how does her upbringing influence her thoughts and her way of thinking? Well, she was a daughter of a sea captain, a person that was very strict, very rigorous, very demanding, very masculine. Um, he thought as women as inferior. And she saw how badly he treated her mother. Her brother was treated differently than her. So when she wanted to go to school, um, he was giving more opportunities by her father. Her father didn't really support her, didn't really support the idea of a woman going to school. Um, he definitely had a lot more freedom to do more things. So saw the difference in how he treated the brother rather than Karen. But on the other hand, she had her mother's support. Her mother was very smart, and she understood what women wanted, and in this case, Karen. So she supported Karen to go to school, and she was allowed the opportunity to not just go to medical school, but continue her career in psychoanalysis. So what does Karen think of me? Sometimes I can be overly loud in group settings, outgoing, timid if I don't know individuals, educated, unsure. So I think overall she would say that I would fall in the category of moving towards. Um, I tend to be a little bit of a people pleaser, and I also like to um, be undemanding. I do feel that I'm a little modest in general. And so this is part of the upbringings in the environment that I also grew up in. Case in point, my mother. Though she's very sweet, commanding, affirmative, and naive, strong, she learned through her environment how to survive. Her father had a very tough character, and she kind of learned to be in that way for survival. Overall, she would say that Karen would say that my mother was moving or is moving towards. She likes to have a partner, my father in that case. So she shows a need for love, and that could be also due to the lack of love that her father showed her. Um, and she likes to be liked by others, and she's a people pleaser and pleasure seeking. So how does Horney differ from Freud? Well, she believed that the person was ruled by the principle of need, being wanted, and conditioned by the early experience in the environment of the child. So these are all conditions that will allow a person to expand their personality and will create the person they are in the future. And then she focused on the neurotic function that the person has now. However, she didn't believe that people inherited good or bad, but they could become destructive eventually, depending on what they have experienced. Freud, on the other hand, he had the id, ego, and superego. He believed the environment wasn't too much, but there's more of the stage fixation where he focused more, and the biology of the person is the instinct for behavior, not so much the environment. So Horney focused on family and how the child's world would evolve, and Freud focused more on the biology. One of the other things that we see here is a correlation. Both Freud and Horney saw and believed that the past is always contained for the present. So whatever happened prior to that person's life is what allowed them to shape what they have become. So Horney and Rogers, what did they have in common? They both deviated from Freud's um, ideology and focused on the self-experience. Horney studied medicine, such as Rogers, but Rogers focused his psychoanalytic theory on the medical model and further expanded on the growth model and focused on the present, not so much on what the past, like Horney did. She focused on the environment and how that shaped the individual's life in the present. Further, Rogers saw and analyzed the patterns of personality that the individual showed. Whereas Horney, she focused more on the neurosis and the neurotic needs. In conclusion, I'd just like to say that she contributed very greatly, not just to psychology and how it's thought of today, but to women. She has allowed women to become a part of the psychology world, to become a part of the medical world, by her attending medical school, has opened up a lot of doors for women to continue and grow. And she has explored the different areas in psychology and more on the child and its environment. And I think generally it is very important to seek and understand why a person is a certain way or why it's reacting a certain way, and it's due to neurosis. Furthermore, we can say that she opened up a lot of doors, not just for women, but to open up the idea that there's more to psychology than just what Freud said or Rogers or Jung, but an expansion of everything in general, how we can combine everybody's ideas and conclude and diagnose a person's neurotic stage.